You put him in awe. He's in a state of awe.
Really? Okay. Are you excited?
He's ditching me. You made it worth it. It's been like 3 days. He's kind of like a little bit like a rock star. People are like, oh my god.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's prostrate to all the Buddhas. Gurus. Thank you. I was very comfortable here. Hello. Can everybody hear well? Yeah. Wow, so many people. So many familiar faces also. New faces. But everybody's so beautiful. Wow. So is most people from here? Are you all from the area? Yeah? California? Wow. It's good weather. It's good weather now. Not too hot, not too cold. Right, it's perfect for our unsatisfied minds. Can't complain right now. Actually, maybe I'm getting a bit hot. Yeah, I'm gonna take off my jacket. It's good. Okay, so so I haven't really prepared at all for the talk. It's very improvised, completely improvised. So, and actually I like it like that. You know, because life is improvised. Can't really plan for life. It will never happen like you imagine. Most times it happens much better than you can imagine. If you can see it that way. So the topic was Dharma action, is that correct? Dharma action. Yeah, so let's start with some mindfulness, right? So we can do a short meditation. First we dedicate the intention of the time and the space and the energy we're going to put right now. And so we just do some prayer again. Sangye Chedang Sangye Chedang Changjo Padu Dani Kyasuchi Dagi Jinso Kibe Sonangi Yoga Penche Sangye Juba Sangye Chedang Sangye Chedang Changjo Padu Dani Kyasuchi Dagi Jinso Kibe Sonangi Yoga Penche Sangye Juba Sangye Chunam Sangye Chunam La Chanjo Pago Dani Kapsuchi Nagi Chinso Gibe Sonangi Jola Pinche Sangye Juba. Oh, there's actually so much to talk about. I just don't know where to start. Okay, so let's do a very short meditation. What do you think? Yeah? So just maybe 1 minute. Very short. But it's just to make the point that we can do that every day. Just 1 minute, 2 minutes. We can do that every day, and it's going to make a big difference. So, I mean, we can choose to close our eyes or not. We can choose to sit in a certain position or not. It doesn't really matter. What really matters is the intention. What you want to achieve, and why you want to achieve. The same way, you can take a placebo pill, and even if you know it's a placebo pill, it still has an effect, just because you're doing the action with the intention. So that's a little bit like meditation. So we're gonna take the 1 minute. That's probably finished already. But yeah, I'm gonna get to the point. It's being conscious of the moment. Let's say. So, I mean, we kind of measure it by time, based on change. But if we look for it, we can't really find it because it's already past or it's still future. It's difficult to really pinpoint the exact moment now, right? You can divide it, always. So basically, we focus first on the body, on the breathing, the triangle between the upper lip and the nose, where the air comes in and out. Just focus on that and empty our mind. And then we realize that the air, the breath, is something that's been happening since we were born. It hasn't stopped all the time, even though we don't realize. And then we visualize all our organs that are functioning and working for us constantly, even though we don't even recognize. We don't even know how they work, unless of course maybe you're a doctor, and then maybe you've studied it, but still it's concept. Don't really know exactly how it works. I mean, not even in our mind do we really know how it works. So how can we understand what's surrounding us? The unknown, we can call it. So for now we just empty everything, and we don't really have to focus on any labeling or conditioning or trying to understand or this or that. Just let yourself be. So being just being the self. Just changing constantly. Then just feel gratitude for the organs, for the body, for the time we have, and the help that we receive every day from so many countless sentient beings. Okay. So how does that feel? It's good, right? I mean, it's not so long, and you can do it every day, and it's really going to change your attitude. Because many times we suffer because we have selfish attitudes. And we create our own suffering without even knowing. Or maybe we subconsciously, maybe we do know it, but we don't want to recognize it. We're like, oh, tomorrow will come. I'll deal with that tomorrow. Today I want to have fun. Like, what do you call that? parentheses, quotes. Yeah, I'm gonna have fun, right? But it's, you know it's not real fun. You know, like, that if you don't deal with yourself today, you're gonna have to deal with yourself tomorrow. Can't always be running away from your fears. I think the best way to overcome your fears is by confronting them. And then the process will teach you what you have to learn, and then you can move on to the next step. And trust me, there's always going to be steps in front of you. Always. Yeah. Okay, so Dharma work. Dharma work, was that the
Buddhist action.
a Buddhist action?
Action.
Action.
Yeah. Taking action.
I mean, of course, we have to be conscious that there's not just action, but we have thoughts. Action also. But thoughts are very powerful, right? And vocabularization, verbalization, speech, very powerful. So it's not just action that we have. So I think it'll be more like three things together. And I think basically if you're able to tame your mind, you're able to not fall into the contradictions of our mind, which many times we do it. And without being too influenced by the emotions, especially the negative, destructive emotions, which come up every so often, many times when we least expect it, and boom, they're there. It's an invited guest somehow. And then they take complete control. Whichever kind of emotion like that, for example, if it's like anger or lust or fear or attachment and or greed, there's so many like that. They're like low frequency emotions which don't really help you. On the other hand, they actually harm you and also the people around you. Unless, of course, you use it as a stepping tool, to learn. So in that way it can help you, but that's depending on your attitude in life. Because anything that comes in your life, you can use it as a tool to improve. And of course, you're your own judge. Many people we think, peer pressure, society expects this, society thinks like that. If you don't belong in society, then it's a big problem. We always compare, we judge ourselves based on what we think that society will think of us, right? In a way, sometimes. So all of that, I think it does create a little bit of difficulty sometimes in really flowing. At least that's how it is for me. For me, it works like that. I have a lot of difficulty in general, every day, in different aspects. For example, for me, like sometimes motivation, I have a hard time motivating myself. I have a hard time understanding myself also. So I will not always understand the way I am. Many times I will want to change myself, but I will not know how to do it in order to improve my life. I know which are the steps I have to take, but then at the time of taking them, maybe you don't exactly do as you imagine. It's easier said than done. I mean, we all kind of have that. I think it's much easier to imagine the ideal you, and then you fantasize on that, and then you feed off, you kind of nurture yourself with that, but it's not really helping. It's good to project sometimes, see the best example of yourself, the best version of yourself, and kind of project that, so that maybe one day, eventually, you can get there. That's basically a little bit. That's Buddhism also, because you do visualize the potential of being a Buddha. Right? And through that kind of visualization, you create the cause. With the inspiration of the Guru also, the pure example of the Guru, his attitude, the way, his energy, the way he is, his logic, stuff, like things that you will be inspired by. Starting with your family. I think that helps a lot in the long run, but we cannot fall into that, and be like, oh, I'm just going to enjoy this concept of who I may become and keep on doing the same destructive habits, or habits that don't really benefit anybody. And we all have our own issues, so I think it's very important to recognize these habits, because these small decisions we make every day are the root cause of our suffering. Even though many times we may think that those decisions are the cause for our happiness, we do fool ourselves very often. And that's also what Dharma talks about. It's trying to help us to be our own therapist, so that we can recognize how our mind plays tricks on us. For example, in my case, sometimes I worry or I get agitated. And I get agitated because of my thoughts. And the thoughts, sometimes they just pop up, It's not like something that, it's not real. I worry about some projection that I made, and then I believe it. But it's not a real projection, thoughts are just like clouds, they come and go. So you can't really pay too much attention. It's good to observe, to understand the reality of your thought, how our mind works. But you can't identify with thoughts. These thoughts are it's just a tool, they just come and go. It depends on how well tamed we have our mind. It's like, he's a very, very special teacher. I forget his name right now, but there's one talk he was talking about in a video, where he was talking about how the mind is like a monkey, taming the monkey mind. I forget his name. Mingyur, yeah, that's it. Mingyur. Really like him, very, very much. I met him in the Kala Chakra in Bodh Gaya 2 years ago. Such good energy. Very humble, very authentic. So I really like that example, the monkey mind, and it's really quite exact. We are, as Westerners, in our culture, and more today in a capitalistic kind of society, individualistic, we don't really tend to want to train the mind, or control the mind, or subdue the mind. We just let it run free as much as it wants. And the older we get, the worse it becomes, because we just fall into that habit, that pattern of letting it rampage, basically. So it's very important. That's why meditation, one of the meditations, to empty your mind. A little bit like what Bruce Lee would be saying. He'd be like, oh, be water, my friend. It's a little bit that, it's kind of, it's, all the cultures have it. All the religions and philosophy have that base. It's just different languages, different ways of explaining it or practicing it. But it's universal. Let's say we are all humans. We all work the same in a way. Okay, so it's there's some base for everybody, and then from there we have to also start seeing what works for us and what not. For some people, maybe intellectuality, they really like to analyze and philosophize and debate. For other people, maybe they just want to be alone and do mantras and visualize, do visualizations. So some other people want to go and rock climb and they have some spiritual experience, or other people want to go dance in a concert, play music. I don't know. Each person has to find their own kind of, where they resonate, what they identify with. And it's a little bit like what his Holiness says, Buddhism or Dharma helps you to be a better Christian, or a better Muslim, or a better whatever it is that you already are. One doesn't eliminate the other. So Dharma basically just helps you to be a better person, a happier person. That's what we're all after. So the earlier we start, the better. It's never too late either. Yeah. So I think that's a little bit maybe introduction to Dharma. Does it sound very tasty and juicy? Delicious? Yeah? Yeah, I prefer to talk a little bit more like from my own experience and how how I've been able to deal with my own problems and issues, and what I understand from what I learned, the tiny little bit that I've learned about Buddhism, which has been so helpful. And with time, of course, I'm really interested in learning more, and getting soaked, with Dharma. Now that since my son was born, it's changed a lot in my mind. Before that, I didn't really have so much interest, in really learning or understanding Dharma. I was more interested in trying to discover myself. The Tibetans didn't understand that. What, 14 years in the monastery wasn't enough? No. I had to go out there, right? Yeah. Still haven't discovered anything. I'm much more lost than before. So that's complicated. But I've taken steps, so I'm happy. When I look back, at least I see the steps I've taken. So hopefully, it has been one step forward, 2 steps backwards. But it helps to learn better even. The harder the path, the better you learn. So since my Norbu was born, suddenly I had this kind of a little bit of more thirst for having a little bit more understanding, so that I could at least offer something for him, Because if I'm total chaos and dysfunctional, then how am I going to help him, right? Right? If you don't know how to love yourself, if you don't really love yourself, how do you expect to love anybody else? Or to be able to really, really love each other, that's something many people sometimes informatically or intellectually we understand the concept, right? But what exactly does that mean to love oneself? Going to McDonald's, is that loving yourself? I don't know. For some people it is, because that's what they crave at that moment. I don't want to talk bad about McDonald's, but it's not exactly the healthiest food you can choose. So even just at the moment of deciding what you're going to put in your mouth, already you're making a decision, and that has effects, obviously. The lifestyle, in the morning, what is the first thought you have? Is that healthy or not? That thought, is it beneficial? What is it? What is it creating? Does that thought represent how much you love yourself or not? And what is that love? It's not about, oh, me, I'm so important, I'm so great, or me, I have to take care of myself because I'm the best or the center of the universe. No, it's not. It doesn't work. That's not love. Okay, that's called something else, self-centeredness, or I don't know, egocentrism or narcissism, whatever you want to call it. But what we're talking about is that kind of nurturing air or water or earth or light, fire, warmth that life gives us in order to grow and thrive. That womb that we stayed in for 9 months, that that attention and space and energy that our parents gave us. Even one word towards a stranger may not seem so much, but that is love in a way. Just asking maybe somebody that's working, when does your shift finish? Or when did you start your shift? Just asking that could change the whole day. They're like, wow, somebody recognized me. Somebody asked me something about myself. Somebody is concerned about me. Somebody loves me. Love has many aspects and many ways to describe it, but deep down inside, we know exactly what it means. Because it's part of us. That's who we are also. Clear light or love, it's the essence. That's where all the karma starts, right? The creating, the karma. Because everything starts with intention. So, that's why it's so important to always be aware of your thoughts. First thing you wake up in the morning, what is the first thought that pops in your head? Think about it. And then think, oh, is this thought, does it represent me loving myself or not? And when I'm saying loving myself, it also means having the good intention for others. Because that's how we love ourselves, is through others also. It's not just, oh, me, 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 me. Right? I mean, that's not love. That's some kind of culture that has been installed, you can say, like a chip, USB. We just have to maybe unprogram it. That's the difficult part, actually. Because everything is already there. We already have the information. We already have the experience. I mean, when I see Nobu, I really understand how pure we are. It's just amazing, That's why when you see babies, why does everybody love babies so much? Because it represents who they are, in a way. You kind of identify with that purity, that innocence, that joy, that interest. Everything's new, everything's wonderful, everything's magic. I remember when I was about 5 years old, I used to see fairies. I don't know if it's true or not. When I was in Switzerland, I was about 5, already a monk, studying. And and I used to see fairies. And I used to go down to the forest, and I used to go see the fairies. I don't really remember what they looked like, but I remember I used to see something. And then one day I told someone, oh, I see fairies, come with me, let's go. Well, now adult, grown up. They don't say, they don't exist, it's probably your imagination. And I was so impacted by the fact that he told me that after when I went to the forest, I wouldn't see them anymore. Because somehow I believed him, and maybe it was my imagination. I will never know. But it was an interesting example of my childhood, of how sometimes grown-ups kind of squash the fantasy, which I think is so important in life. Because life is a kind of fantasy. I mean, okay, responsible people are like, oh, don't think like that. Life is not a fantasy, it's not a dream, you have to take it seriously. Yes, you do. But there's another aspect of life which you cannot take seriously. Because when we're children and as we grow older, like when we grow old, like 100 plus, it goes back into the fantasy. I mean, I just see my grandfather, he's 94, and he's a very, very, very happy person, healthy. But he's a little bit in his fantasy world, in a way, like he's going back into his childhood. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's my projection. So I can't trust my mind all the time. But that's a feeling I get sometimes, that we go back into the fantasy world. And it's a beautiful thing, because that's really many times what we're after, That fantasy that represents the essence of life, the magic of life. That's what art is about, right? When we look at the painting, oh wow, that really inspired me. Why did it inspire you? Because it represents life. It represents the magic of life, the creation. There's many different aspects of life, like music, sound, visual, even food, I want to do a vegan food course soon. That's my next step. I wanted to do a package. This is my idea. I'm going to share it with you. It's really secret, top secret. This is my next project. So hopefully by talking about it, it can come closer to the reality. Because I was thinking, I really need a job, right? Because now I have a family, so I really have to make sure they're well taken care of. From now until at least Nobu is maybe 18 or 20 or 25, at least. So I was thinking, what are the 3 requirements for me personally to have a job? The first one is to be my own boss. Probably be chaos. I'm a rebel. So. Number 2, has to be beneficial. Right? Has to be able to help people improve their life. Right? Number 3, I have to be able to maintain my family with it. So I said, what tools do I have? So I said, okay, I used to do yoga when I was in the monastery. It was basically almost the only exercise I was allowed to do. So I was doing yoga for many years. My dad, he taught me yoga. So he was the one pushing. I was lazy, but he pushed me, so thank you, Dad. He's a yoga teacher, actually. He's 73 or 74, and he's like flexible like rubber. He puts up his leg here, puts it down there, up here. Amazing. Very healthy, very happy. It's an example to follow. Even though I didn't follow his example. I could have absorbed so many good things from him. No. What to do? It's my karma, I guess. If I just absorbed the discipline from him, I would be a different person. Yes, that's what we do. We put ourselves down, right? We limit ourselves by thinking like that. It's called small-minded thinking. That's how we judge ourselves. Anyway, just an example. So, and then basically I think so. I do the yoga. I don't know much about meditation, but I can learn, right? That helps a lot. And then do the course on vegan food, so I can make a menu. So then I make a package, a 3-day package. So people come, they meet, they stay together, they have everything, the lodging, beautiful place to stay at. And then meditation in the morning, yoga, healthy food, lots of juices, lots of really good organic, fresh juice. And then of course exercise, maybe walking or doing some kind of activity. More meditation in the afternoon, and of course philosophy or analytical meditation, or maybe I can do some talks. So there I can do all of that, with some help of course. But I think it's a great way to be able to offer something to society, because I think that's good, right? To disconnect from our everyday schedule, learn about healthy food, learn about meditation, and learn about our body. Because when you do yoga, even your organs go into place. Like by day 3, day 4 doing yoga, you can feel your organs are falling into place. They're like actually, really, I'm not joking. It's amazing. Even the toes of your fingers, toes. Even you do exercise with your toes. Even the toes exercise. So it's literally every aspect of your body. And yeah, because the mind. This is what I've learned. Is it? Can you hear everybody? This is what I learned about my mind. My mind makes me suffer a lot. And my mind puts me into really deep wells where I can literally not see how I'm going to get out. And many times without the help of someone else who's really has some like unconditional love, support, caring words, caring understanding like that, sometimes it's almost impossible to get out. For me at least. Or it takes a lot of time after a lot of suffering. And I'm really spilling the beans here, I'm getting really personal, because for me, normally I'm not that open in that sense, but I think it can be helpful. That's why I'm sharing this. Because even though I lived in a monastery, I used to be as a monk. I did many retreats, and I have tried meditation, and memorized, and recited, and this and that. I'm really stuck down below, like most of you guys are way more advanced. That I'm sure. But it's step by step. And that's what, for me, that's what encourages me, is to look back. If I look in the front, or I look at the other examples, it sometimes is a little bit overwhelming. But I have had a lot of support, and I really encourage all of you to also help others who are in that kind of situation. Because, like, for example, depression, many times we think of the concept, it doesn't seem too bad. I've made that mistake in the past, not taking depression seriously. But it can be really, really difficult. So we really need a lot of empathy and understanding to many people, especially today in society, we are isolating ourselves every time more. In the cities, at the workplace, in the public transport. Not so many people talk to each other, even though, like back in the days, if you go a couple thousand years ago, people would talk to each other much more often. Even like today, for example, on the phone. Because you can call anybody anytime you want, you don't really appreciate or value the time you spend with someone. Because anytime you want, you can just text them or call them, right? Back in the days, you wouldn't know when you're going to meet them again. So maybe if you spend 1 hour with somebody, it's total, you're there, you're present. You're not doing something else. You're not multitasking. And even though the phone supposedly really connects us with everybody, it's actually kind of isolated. All these gadgets, These days, for example, without a computer, without certain equipment, we're incapable of really doing our job. Creating whatever it is that we want to create. So we really need the help of like robots. I actually, I went to Burning Man project. I don't know if anybody knows that. I went after 12 years. I was there in 2006. And then after 12 years, I went back because it happened like that. I had somebody wasn't going. I had a ticket and the RV. There also was a spot for me. So it was an interesting experience. But I must say that it's not my scene anymore. Yeah. So I after 4 days I left. I just didn't feel it. So I guess I'm getting old now. I don't like to party anymore. Is that good or bad? I don't know. I guess the Tibetans would be like, yes, very good, very good. There's no Tibetan here. No Tibetan. No support. I speak Tibetan to my son. Only Tibetan. That's his patrimony. Is it called patrimony? Yeah. That's his patrimony. That's the only patrimony I have to offer him. At least it's Tibetan language.